There are 1.3 million refugees in South Sudan, and you, as Save the Children, are supporting quite a number of them. Maybe you could tell us what projects you're running with the refugees.
Sure. When you look at the refugee community, we see that 60%, nearly 60% of these refugees are children, minors of age. So Save the Children obviously focuses on them and their families. And what is most pressing for these children when they've come across the border is an education, we believe. An education which will protect them from further harm, an education which will also gives them a sense of normality, of structure. That's why we provide safe spaces in many of the different settlements where children can play and learn and develop. We also provide healthcare. We have several clinics that we run to give people the basic health care, focusing obviously on children and newborns and mothers, but doing a general basic health care. We do mother and baby feeding, and we do livelihoods interventions as well.
And what challenges are you facing as you try to support them, and especially now that you mentioned that education is one of the key pillars that you work on?
The challenges are wide and huge, I think, not only for us, but for all the organizations and international community that are responding to this huge crisis. There are general challenges of general needs in terms of water and food, etc. What we face, obviously, is to keep all these children in education, to keep them protected, and to provide sufficient services so that no child is left behind, that every last child in that situation can actually access school, can access learning opportunities and safe play and protection. And that is why Save the Children, particularly in the run-up to the Solidarity Summit now, has put together an action plan which calculates the cost of having an education for all of these children so that they can go to school and learn.
About how much do you think you would need to be able to say we're providing quality education to all the children, the 300,000 that you're saying are being left out at the moment?
We need 464 million to bring together by the international community, the different donors, the private sector, the development banks, in order to provide both early learning, primary education and education, secondary education for all these refugees.
When world leaders gather here on Thursday for the Solidarity Summit with the refugees, what would you want to hear them say? What would you want to come out of that summit?
Be the fulfillment and the next step in what we promised last year when the world leaders came together, defining the steps toward a global compact for refugees, which is a multi-stakeholder approach, which is an approach where the international community says that the hosting communities can no longer bear the brunt alone of hosting the refugees, and where we need to step up and come together to both respond to the immediate needs, but also work towards durable longer-term solutions. We hope that the event will be just that, where the international community can put their hands together and take responsibilities for how can we best support the government and the situation in Sudan. And in our case, obviously, Save the Children really would like the international community to step up and come up with the solution of how can we get all children into education, all refugee children that are currently hosted in Uganda.
When the rest of the world is shutting its doors on refugees, Uganda has opened its doors, and we've seen the numbers rise, 1.3 million refugees in a span of 3 years. How would you rate their policy towards refugees?
I think it's fair to say that the Ugandan government has a very credible and very positive policy towards refugees. And not only the government, also the Ugandan people have been very receptive and very welcoming to the refugees. And the refugee population here is entitled to receive an education, is entitled to work, is provided with housing and with a piece of land where available to make sure that they can build on their future. And I think that's very positive. I think we need to also understand that with the current influx, the massive influx, the generosity of this policy is one thing, but we need to make it work. And the government of Uganda cannot do that alone. I think the international community should be standing by and together. We need to work towards more coordinated models and more funding to actually realize these rights and put them into effective for all refugees, in our case, particularly for the children and the young people and their families. The challenges is is to get more of the refugee teachers involved, accredited, because they may have been trained in South Sudan, but they're not necessarily accredited as a teacher here, because they can also build the bridge for the children, help them cope, and they also can fill in the gap of the teacher shortage. So that's an important thing to take into